Hey everybody, it's Ben over at Studio BC, checking in with you on week 5 of Lean on the Lakeshore. Hopefully everything's going great. Hey, the other couple weeks we've been talking about connecting our body, mind, and spirit in really simple ways, focusing on tiny little activities, simple meditations that over time add up to really big change. We referred to it as the cascade effect. It's also similar to the butterfly effect. We've heard of that, right? There was a movie about it. The idea that a butterfly on one side of the world, by flapping its wings, can influence the weather potentially on the whole other side of the globe. It's based on this idea of fractal growth, and that's where the beauty of nature comes in. Incremental growth, tiny growth, influenced over all these factors, turns into something really beautiful. That same metaphor can apply to you and I, especially when we gain control over our worst enemy when it comes to changing our habits and personal growth and stepping out of our comfort zone. When it comes to losing weight, I argue it's really not the diet and cooking that's the hard part, because those are actually fun and delicious, and it's really not the exercise that's such a pain in the butt, no pun intended, because once you get used to it, it actually kind of feels good. The challenge for most of us, the opponent that we need to learn how to manage, isn't either of those two things. Our opponent lives with us. It's right up here. It's our noggin. It's our brain. That brain of ours is a beautiful thing, but as we all know, while it can create beauty one day, it can wreak havoc the next. And it's not only wreaking havoc in our mind, but because our systems are connected, as we've discussed, if this one's working way out of control, what's going to happen to the spirit and body? They're going to suffer, like that butterfly effect or that cascade effect. So how do we combat this opponent that lives with us, that resides in our head? It's a simple exercise. I call it stop, breathe, smile. It's ultimately a meditation that we can do anytime, anywhere. It doesn't cost us anything, and as long as we can sneak away into a little space for ourselves for a few minutes, over time, like that butterfly effect, this practice has a huge impact, a huge positive when it comes to quieting those voices, stopping that constant chatter, snipping that endless loop that plays over and over again in our head. Here's how it works. First order of business is, when our brain is racing, the idea that we become aware of what's happening, that we're just aware within ourselves that, you know what, this brain of mine is really not shutting off. That's the first step, just recognizing that, being aware of that, being conscious of that. When that happens, we literally stop ourselves. We stop what we're doing. We remove ourselves from those present circumstances and take ourselves into another room, some other space. We need to unplug. We need the chance to power down and reboot on the dime. So first order of business, when our brain is chattering out of control, we stop it. We literally tell ourselves, stop, enough. Once we've stopped it, once we've created that time out, we go to the next step. We breathe. Breath we take for granted, but breath is pretty important. It's the first thing we do when we're born into this world, and the last thing we do when we usher ourselves out. Our lives can be measured in breath, technically. So at this moment, when we've taken a few minutes, 3 minutes max, to step away from our constant chatter, we collect ourselves. We power up again with breath. We breathe in through our nose, and then we breathe out through our mouth. As many times as we need, not as a punishment, but as a pleasure. It's a chance for us to give our mind a rest. As we're taking those deep cleansing breaths, stopped, removed from our constant chatter, the very last thing we do is refer back to those journal entries that we talked about, of taking some notes when it comes to things that make us happy. We're going to refer back to those now. And we're going to remind ourselves, as we're quieting the chatter, as we're collecting ourselves with breath, we're going to take what probably is a frown on our face, because that's usually the face we wear when we're under stress. We're going to be aware of that too, and take all those muscles and reverse them, not into some big fake smile, but just a little bit of a smile, because that little tiny smile on our face also has a butterfly effect. There's also a cascade effect attached to that exercise. When we combine all three of those into a simple meditation and introduce it, take advantage of it, anytime we recognize that our brain is in constant chatter mode, in rumination mode, it becomes this tool that helps us reconnect with ourselves, unplug, reboot, get a grip, and then toss ourselves back into the game. That's it. Simple meditation to help us stop the constant chatter, stop, breathe, smile. Let's practice it this week, and we're going to talk about some other stuff next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.